Welcome to a captivating journey through the intriguing world of Restoration poetry, a literary era that emerged from the turbulence of social change and political transformation. In this immersive audiobook, we invite you to explore the vibrant tapestry of verse that flourished during the Restoration period, a time marked by the restoration of the English monarchy under King Charles II. As we delve into the poetic landscape of this era, you'll discover the unique characteristics that define Restoration poetry. From its witty and satirical verses to its exploration of themes like love, politics, society, and human nature, Restoration poets crafted a distinctive voice that both reflected and challenged the complexities of their time. Join us as we navigate through the works of renowned poets like John Dryden, Alexander Pope, and Aphra Behn, among others. Through their words, we'll uncover the nuances of a society in transition, where the legacy of the Civil War intersected with the dawn of a new cultural epoch. By subscribing to our channel, English Poetry, you'll gain access to a treasure trove of audiobooks that delve into various poetic traditions, offering insightful analyses, historical context, and a deep appreciation for the power of language. Prepare to be captivated by the wit, elegance, and intellectual vigor that define Restoration poetry. So, whether you are a poetry enthusiast, a history buff, or simply curious about the rich literary heritage that has shaped the English language, we invite you to hit that subscribe button and embark on this enlightening journey with us. Subscribe to English Poetry now and be a part of our exploration into the fascinating world of Restoration poetry. Your subscription will keep you connected with our ever-growing collection of audiobooks that celebrate the beauty, depth, and resonance of English poetry. English Restoration poetry stands as a fascinating and pivotal period in literary history, characterized by a unique blend of wit, satire, social commentary, and a revival of classical influences. This era spans from the restoration of the English monarchy in 1660, following the turbulent years of the English Civil War and the interregnum, to the early 18th century. The Restoration era was marked by a shift in cultural and political norms, as well as a growing interest in literature that reflected the changing social landscape. Restoration poetry is often associated with the reign of King Charles II, whose return to the throne ushered in an era of social rejuvenation and artistic exploration. The poets of this period responded to the changing times with a variety of poetic styles and themes. The influence of classical literature and the newly established French court styles had a profound impact on the poetry of the time. One of the defining features of Restoration poetry is its wit and satire. Poets like John Dryden, Alexander Pope, and Samuel Butler mastered the art of employing clever wordplay, irony, and sarcasm to critique society, politics, and human behavior. Their verses often held up a mirror to the follies and vices of the upper classes, making a statement on the excesses of the aristocracy and the rapidly changing mores of the time. The theme of love and sexuality was also prevalent in Restoration poetry. The era witnessed a newfound openness in discussing matters of the heart and romantic relationships. Poets like John Wilmot, Earl of Rochester, expressed a bold and often explicit approach to love poetry, exploring the complexities of passion and desire in ways that were considered scandalous in earlier times. Social commentary and political engagement were significant aspects of Restoration poetry. The poets of this era tackled contemporary political issues, sometimes with allegorical and satirical overtones. They commented on the shifting power dynamics, the uncertainties of monarchy, and the challenges posed by the Restoration itself. Restoration poetry was also characterized by its formality and adherence to poetic conventions. The use of heroic couplets, rhymed quatrains, and other structured forms was common. Poets like John Dryden exemplified the mastery of these forms, creating verses that balanced elegance with intellectual depth. Aphra Behn, often considered one of the first professional female writers in English literature, contributed to the development of Restoration poetry. Her works, including plays and poetry, challenged gender norms and explored themes of love, desire, and social expectations. The period witnessed the resurgence of classical influences, which greatly impacted the themes, forms, and styles of the poetry. Poets drew inspiration from the works of ancient Greek and Roman writers, incorporating classical allusions, mythological references, and structured forms. This classical revival added an air of sophistication and erudition to the poetry of the time. Restoration poetry was also characterized by its engagement with contemporary scientific and philosophical advancements. As the Age of Enlightenment dawned, poets like Alexander Pope embraced reason, empiricism, and the pursuit of knowledge. This intellectual curiosity found expression in their verses, often exploring the intersections between science, reason, and spirituality. The theatre played a significant role in the cultural landscape of the Restoration period, and poetry often intersected with drama. Playwrights such as John Dryden and Aphra Behn, who were accomplished poets in their own right, contributed to the fusion of poetic and dramatic elements, infusing their plays with poetic language and themes. The exploration of the human psyche and emotions was a hallmark of Restoration poetry. Poets delved into the complexities of human nature, revealing the depths of human emotions, desires, and inner conflicts. This introspective approach resonated with the psychological shifts taking place in society. Restoration poetry's engagement with the city and urban life was notable. As London underwent significant transformation and urbanization, poets captured the vibrancy and chaos of city existence, portraying a bustling metropolis teeming with diverse characters and experiences. The theme of vanity and the transitory nature of worldly pursuits emerged in Restoration verses. Poets like Andrew Marvell and John Dryden critiqued the fleeting nature of human ambitions, inviting readers to ponder the impermanence of earthly achievements. Social hierarchies and gender dynamics were explored in Restoration poetry. The era witnessed the emergence of women poets like Catherine Phillips and Aphra Behn, who used their verses to challenge societal norms and question traditional roles assigned to women. In summary, English Restoration poetry encompasses a mosaic of themes, styles, and influences that reflect a society in flux. It navigated the interplay between tradition and innovation, offering glimpses into a world that grappled with political change, cultural evolution, and the complexities of human nature. As you immerse yourself in the verses of this era, you'll uncover the layers of intellect, emotion, and social commentary that make Restoration poetry a compelling and dynamic chapter in the tapestry of English literature. The theme of libertinism and libertinage emerged in the poetry of this era. Poets like John Wilmot, Earl of Rochester, pushed the boundaries of social norms by embracing a libertine lifestyle characterized by hedonism, skepticism, and a rejection of traditional moral constraints. Their verses offered a candid exploration of pleasure, excess, and the pursuit of personal gratification. Restoration poetry also engaged with the concept of monarchy in the role of the king. The return of Charles II to the throne was celebrated in verses that emphasized his virtues and the hope of stability after years of political turmoil. The era saw a rise in the popularity of courtly poetry, which celebrated the glamour and sophistication of court life. Poets penned verses that praised the elegance, fashion, and social rituals of the court, reflecting the influence of the French courtly culture. Restoration poetry's reflection on war and conflict added another layer to its thematic scope. The lingering impact of the English Civil War and the subsequent political tensions found expression in verses that conveyed the trauma of conflict and the longing for peace. The concept of the rake, or the man of the world, was a recurring figure in Restoration poetry. This archetype represented a morally ambiguous character who navigated the complexities of society with a mixture of wit, charm, and cynicism. Poets often used this figure to comment on the moral ambiguities of the time. The relationship between poetry and patronage was a significant aspect of the Restoration era. Poets often relied on patronage from aristocrats and wealthy individuals to support their work, leading to the creation of verses that celebrated their patrons or conveyed subtle messages of flattery. Restoration poetry also engaged with the concept of theatricality. The influence of the theatre extended beyond dramatic works to impact the language, structure, and presentation of poetry. Poets embraced dramatic techniques to enhance the emotional impact of their verses. The theme of artistic experimentation marks a distinctive aspect of Restoration poetry. Poets like Abraham Cowley and John Dryden explored innovative forms, pushing the boundaries of traditional poetic structures and styles, and paving the way for a more diverse and experimental approach to verse. Restoration poetry's engagement with social satire takes on a multifaceted dimension. Beyond critiquing societal norms, poets delved into the individual behaviors and quirks that defined the intricacies of social interactions, presenting a panoramic view of human nature. The era witnessed a notable influence of neoclassicism on Restoration poetry. Poets drew inspiration from the works of ancient Greece and Rome, embracing neoclassical principles of order, clarity, and reason, which reflected the intellectual climate of the age. Restoration poetry's exploration of identity and self-expression captures the evolving sense of self in a changing society. Poets grappled with questions of identity, self-awareness, and the pursuit of individuality amidst the shifts in political and cultural landscapes. The rise of women poets was a notable development during this era. Aphra Behn and Catherine Phillips, among others, emerged as prominent female voices, challenging gender norms and contributing to the broader literary discourse with their distinct perspectives. Restoration poetry's reflection on the allure of nature offers a glimpse into the poet's fascination with the natural world. While often urban-focused, verses occasionally celebrated the beauty of nature as a source of solace and inspiration. The exploration of the human psyche takes on a psychological depth in Restoration poetry. Poets like John Dryden and John Wilmot delved into the intricacies of human emotions, exploring the realms of desire, melancholy, and the complexity of human experience. The theme of society's vices and virtues expands to encompass a broader societal spectrum. Poets navigated the spectrum from debauchery to virtue, critiquing excesses while also celebrating the virtues that defined an ideal citizen within the evolving society. Restoration poetry's interaction with humor and absurdity reveals the poet's skill in blending wit and humor with deeper philosophical contemplation. Satire often contained an element of absurdity, highlighting the irrationality of human behavior. The theme of courtly love and flirtation is a notable aspect of Restoration poetry. Poets often engaged in playful and flirtatious verses that celebrated the art of seduction and courtship, reflecting the social dynamics and romantic ideals of the time. Restoration poetry's exploration of ephemeral beauty and mortality delves into the transient nature of human existence. Poets contemplated the fleeting nature of youth, beauty, and worldly pleasures, often juxtaposing these with deeper philosophical reflections on mortality. The concept of cosmopolitanism emerges in Restoration poetry as poets engaged with a broader worldview. Influenced by global exploration and trade, poets incorporated elements from different cultures, expanding their thematic and linguistic horizons. Restoration poetry's examination of the theater of life portrays existence as a stage upon which human dramas unfold. Poets used theatrical metaphors to explore the roles people play in society, blurring the lines between reality and performance. The theme of nostalgia and longing adds a touch of melancholy to Restoration poetry. The poets, influenced by the political and social changes of the time, often expressed a yearning for a past era of stability and order. Restoration poetry's engagement with the art of translation is a testament to its intellectual vigor. Poets translated works from various languages, introducing readers to the literary treasures of other cultures and fostering cross-cultural exchange. The exploration of urban culture and society captures the vibrancy of city life during the Restoration period. Poets depicted the bustling streets, diverse characters, and cultural attractions that defined the urban experience. Restoration poetry's reflection on the dynamics of power and patronage sheds light on the intricate relationships between poets and their patrons. Many poets relied on patronage for support, leading to verses that celebrated the virtues and qualities of their benefactors. The theme of parody and imitation highlights the playful and self-aware nature of Restoration poetry. Poets often imitated the style of their contemporaries or parodied popular forms, showcasing their literary prowess and cleverness. The theme of scientific inquiry and natural philosophy finds its place in Restoration poetry. Poets were influenced by the advancements in science and exploration, often incorporating scientific concepts and observations into their verses, reflecting the intellectual curiosity of the age. Restoration poetry's engagement with self-reflexivity and meta-poetry offers a meta-awareness of the art form itself. Poets like John Dryden and Alexander Pope crafted verses that not only conveyed their messages but also commented on the nature and purpose of poetry itself. The exploration of gender roles and sexuality expands to encompass a broader spectrum. While some poets adhered to traditional gender roles, others, like Aphra Behn, challenged norms and questioned societal expectations placed upon men and women. Restoration poetry's reflection on religion and skepticism reveals the poet's varied attitudes toward spirituality. Some poets embraced a devout religious stance, while others, influenced by the scientific and philosophical shifts of the time, expressed skepticism and agnosticism. The theme of political allegory and metaphor takes on a complex dimension. Poets often used allegorical and metaphorical language to comment on political matters without overtly criticizing the monarchy or those in power. Restoration poetry's exploration of the aesthetics of artifice showcases the deliberate construction of beauty and artistry. Poets embraced the idea of art as an intentional creation, often using ornate language and intricate imagery to craft their verses. The concept of urban anonymity and individuality emerges as poets grapple with the challenges and opportunities presented by the growing city life. They explored the tension between blending into the urban crowd and asserting one's individuality. Restoration poetry's engagement with literary societies and clubs highlights the collaborative nature of the era's literary scene. Poets gathered in clubs and societies to discuss ideas, share their work, and engage in spirited debates, fostering a sense of community among writers. The theme of class and social mobility offers insights into the shifting social landscape of the era. Poets explored the aspirations and struggles of individuals seeking upward mobility, commenting on the complexities of class distinction. The theme of cultural exchange and globalization adds a global perspective to restoration poetry. The era's exploration of distant lands and cross-cultural interactions influenced poets to incorporate exotic imagery and references from various parts of the world. Restoration poetry's engagement with the human condition goes beyond individual experiences. Poets contemplated the collective human experience, touching on themes of universal emotions, struggles, and aspirations that resonate across time and cultures. The exploration of racial and colonial perspectives reveals the complexities of the era's global expansion. Some poets, like Edmund Waller, engaged with colonial themes, reflecting the changing dynamics of power and race as England extended its influence overseas. Restoration poetry's reflection on the material world and consumerism captures the emergence of a consumer culture. Poets observed the growing emphasis on material wealth, luxury, and the allure of commodities, commenting on the societal shift toward a more commercial mindset. The concept of emotional landscapes takes on a more intricate form. Poets not only explored individual emotions but also depicted emotional landscapes that reflected broader social moods, capturing the collective sentiment of the era. Restoration poetry's engagement with ephemeral pleasures and fleeting moments paints a vivid picture of a society that embraced a hedonistic approach to life. Poets captured moments of indulgence, celebration, and leisure, reflecting the transient nature of pleasure. The theme of literary rivalries and collaborations uncovers the dynamic interactions between poets of the era. Rivalries and collaborations fueled creative output, leading to the exchange of ideas, the refinement of poetic techniques, and the emergence of distinct poetic voices. Restoration poetry's exploration of family dynamics and interpersonal relationships delves into the complexities of human connections. Poets depicted the intricate web of family relationships, friendship, and love, offering insights into the emotional bonds that shaped lives. The concept of visual imagery and sensory experiences reveals the poet's keen observation of the world around them. They crafted verses that appeal to the senses, creating vivid imagery that transports readers into the scenes and landscapes they describe. The theme of epistolary poetry offers a unique window into personal communication. Poets crafted verses in the form of letters, capturing intimate thoughts, emotions, and reflections in a manner that bridges the gap between public and private expression. Restoration poetry's engagement with education and intellectual pursuits reflects the era's growing emphasis on knowledge. Poets celebrated the pursuit of learning, reflecting the rising interest in education and the Enlightenment ideals that were taking root. The exploration of mental and emotional states delves deeper into the human psyche. Poets ventured into the realm of psychology, depicting states of anxiety, melancholy, and introspection with a sensitivity that foreshadows the later Romantic era. Restoration poetry's reflection on transcendence and spirituality goes beyond traditional religious themes. Some poets, like Andrew Marvell, explored the connection between the physical and spiritual worlds, offering glimpses into the metaphysical and the divine. The concept of dissolution and decay captures a sense of impermanence prevalent in Restoration poetry. Poets grappled with the passing of time, using images of decay, ruins, and fading beauty to evoke a poignant awareness of mortality. Restoration poetry's engagement with the city as a metaphor portrays urban environments as symbols of broader themes. Poets depicted cities as microcosms of society, exploring issues like social stratification, anonymity, and the tension between order and chaos. The theme of personal reinvention and transformation reveals the era's fascination with change and adaptation. Poets contemplated the possibility of personal growth, reinvention, and the potential for individuals to reshape their identities. Restoration poetry's exploration of folklore and mythology introduces mythical narratives and folk traditions into the poetic landscape. Poets drew from folklore, mythology, and folk songs to enrich their verses with layers of cultural symbolism. The concept of irony and ambiguity adds depth to the poet's linguistic choices. Restoration poets often employed irony, paradoxes, and ambiguity to create layers of meaning, challenging readers to engage in nuanced interpretations. The theme of feminine agency and empowerment emerges as poets explore the roles and aspirations of women in society. Female poets like Margaret Cavendish and Aphra Behn challenged conventional norms, crafting verses that asserted women's voices and experiences. Restoration poetry's engagement with folk wisdom and proverbial wisdom draws inspiration from common sayings and traditional wisdom. Poets integrated proverbs and folktales into their verses, infusing them with timeless truths and cultural significance. The exploration of dreams and the subconscious delves into the realm of the unconscious mind. Poets like Andrew Marvell and John Dryden used dream imagery to explore hidden desires, anxieties, and the mysteries of the psyche. Restoration poetry's reflection on rituals and ceremonies portrays the rituals that shape human experience. From courtly rituals to daily routines, poets captured the significance of these rituals as markers of societal values and human connection. The concept of narrative and storytelling enriches Restoration poetry's narrative-driven verses. Poets embraced storytelling techniques, weaving narratives that transported readers into imagined worlds and captivating adventures. Restoration poetry's engagement with the art of translation goes beyond linguistic exchange. Poets engaged with the cultural nuances of translation, conveying foreign concepts and perspectives to English audiences while adding layers of interpretation. The theme of celebration and commemoration reflects the poet's engagement with public events and occasions. Poets crafted verses to celebrate victories, royal occasions, and moments of historical significance, capturing the collective joy and memory. Restoration poetry's exploration of the sublime and the supernatural taps into the realm of awe and wonder. Poets like John Milton depicted epic battles between supernatural forces, evoking a sense of grandeur and the mysterious. The concept of philosophical contemplation adds a philosophical depth to Restoration poetry. Poets grappled with philosophical questions, such as the nature of reality, the existence of God, and the purpose of human existence. The theme of humankind's relationship with the environment emerges as poets contemplate nature's role in human existence. They depict landscapes, seasons, and natural elements as symbolic reflections of human emotions and experiences. Restoration poetry's engagement with personal diaries and journals reveals the introspective nature of the era. Some poets, like Samuel Pepys, maintained diaries that provided a first-hand account of daily life, serving as invaluable historical and literary records. The exploration of the absurd and surreal takes poetic expression to imaginative heights. Poets experimented with surreal imagery in absurd scenarios, blurring the lines between reality and the fantastical. Restoration poetry's reflection on the concept of time delves into the complexities of temporality. Poets explored the fluidity of time, capturing moments of change, continuity, and the cyclical nature of human experience. The concept of reimagining classical mythology adds a layer of reinterpretation to Restoration poetry. Poets revisited classical myths, imbuing them with new meanings and contemporary relevance, reflecting the era's fascination with both the past and the present. Restoration poetry's engagement with the art of epigrams showcases the poet's skill in crafting concise, witty, and often satirical verses that conveyed profound insights or commentary in just a few lines. The theme of legacy and influence captures the enduring impact of Restoration poets on subsequent generations. Their works inspired later poets, influencing literary movements and shaping the trajectory of English poetry. Restoration poetry's exploration of dreams and aspirations extends beyond personal desires. Poets explored the dreams and aspirations of society as a whole, reflecting the collective yearnings and hopes of their time. The concept of identity and nationhood surfaces as poets grapple with what it means to be English in an evolving society. They contemplate questions of national identity, heritage, and the role of literature in shaping a collective sense of self. The theme of social critique through humor takes on a nuanced form in Restoration poetry. Poets often used humor, satire, and wit to comment on societal norms, revealing the absurdities and contradictions of their time. Restoration poetry's engagement with the senses and sensory experiences offers a sensory journey through its verses. Poets evoke sensations of taste, touch, smell, and sound, immersing readers in vivid and tangible experiences. The exploration of censorship and self-censorship sheds light on the challenges poets faced in expressing their thoughts freely. The Restoration era saw periods of strict censorship, leading poets to navigate the boundaries of self-expression and societal expectations. Restoration poetry's reflection on the power of language emphasizes the transformative nature of words. Poets played with linguistic devices, exploring how language shapes perceptions, communicates emotions, and conveys multiple layers of meaning. The concept of cultural hybridity and adaptation captures the fusion of diverse influences within Restoration poetry. As England interacted with global cultures, poets incorporated elements from other traditions, resulting in a unique blend of styles and themes. Restoration poetry's engagement with utopian and dystopian visions reflects the era's utopian aspirations and fears of societal decay. Poets imagined ideal worlds as well as nightmarish futures, using these visions to comment on contemporary issues. The theme of the unknown and the mysterious adds an element of intrigue to Restoration poetry. Poets contemplated the mysteries of life, the universe, and human existence, invoking a sense of wonder and curiosity. Restoration poetry's exploration of technological advancements showcases the poet's awareness of scientific progress. References to emerging technologies, such as the printing press and telescopes, reflect the era's embrace of innovation. The concept of interiority and introspection delves into the inner workings of the human mind. Poets explored the depths of human consciousness, offering glimpses into the emotions, thoughts, and complexities that define the human experience. In essence, English Restoration poetry continues to reveal itself as an ever-expanding realm of thought and imagination. It captures a world in transition, inviting us to engage with a myriad of themes, styles, and perspectives that mirror the complexities of human existence. As you immerse yourself in the verses of Restoration poets, you'll uncover an infinite landscape that challenges, enlightens, and resonates across the boundaries of time and culture.